Alpha 4.8 just wiped the verse. It can be jarring when everything that you earned is gone. The only things you kept this time are your blueprints and anything you bought for real money that's sitting in your hangar section on the account page. But if you ask me, I'm fine with it. I'm gonna go further than that. I think we should be wiping every other patch until we hit 1.0. I know that sentence just made some of you furious, but stick with me here and I'll explain. Or run in the comments and tell me I'm dumb. I know some of you will. And stick around to the end because I've got some ideas on how CIG can keep this game worth playing even if they wipe us more often. The thing is, Star Citizen is a game that's pretending to be an alpha. There's no question at all, it's definitely unfinished, but it's run as a live service game that needs to be live and playable 24/7. From a patch and player's perspective, when they slap a 1.0 label on it, nothing will change in that respect other than keeping your progression forever. We'll still have a live branch, test branches, targeted testers just like today. That blurs the lines a little bit on what we're actually playing. Allowing players to play the game in its current state is a big part of the business model. Wiping isn't ideal for sustaining that model, and I don't think that a wipe before a major ship sale is as nefarious as it's made out to be. The duping economy stuff is real, but it's just one of the many reasons for this wipe. CIG needs to wipe and needs to do it more often for better testing. Can't tune a progression system if every player has years of legacy wealth distorting the data, including all the duped currency. Every patch without a wipe is then essentially additional technical debt that has to be repaid eventually. Alpha 4.8 is one of the worst patches we've had in terms of the player experience, and it highlights a lot of bigger problems for CIG. There are more people playing this game than ever before, and a lot of people already treat this like a finished game that they can play every day. When you start adopting that mindset though, the bugs hurt even worse. But what matters most is getting the content into the game and fixing it as you go. There are so many bugs that can't be replicated or found on the test servers. That's how we'll eventually get to 1.0. As players, we absolutely want to play the game we've been dreaming of for years, but the question is whether we accept short-term resets so 1.0 ship's in good shape, or we hoard our way to a 1.0 launch that nobody actually tested under realistic conditions. I know which version of that I want. And that's my point when people complain about a wipe. I think we're losing sight of the end goal, which is completely understandable after 13 years of development. We've never been closer to the end, and yet there's still going to be some pain to get there. Maybe the biggest reason why we needed this wipe was duping. The economy had been running on monopoly money for at least a year heading into 4.8. There were so many exploits generating literal quadrillions of UEC that the in-game economy wasn't even pretending to function. But this isn't new, players have always done this. Back in 3.28, a cargo duping exploit destroyed the economy back then and got people banned. Every few patches there's another one and players chase them and abuse the shit out of it. When the economy is flooded with credits that shouldn't exist, every credit you earn legitimately becomes completely worthless. The player who hauled cargo for 30 hours isn't playing the same game as the player who duped for 30 seconds. Wipes correct this. They're not the only correction, but they're the most reliable one. So when 4.8 wiped, it reset everyone, including the people who'd been gaming the system. Wipes hurt the legitimate player a lot, and I can't dispute that, but it's 100% needed. We're seeing bans for people that continue to dupe, and I love that. Let's make it permanent. These people aren't going to stop on their own. You see, Star Citizen at 1.0 is supposed to have a meaningful progression curve. Yes, whales are buying their way to a different starting point, and that's a necessary evil of the funding model. But the vast amount of players aren't whales, and their experience will determine the health of the game long term. We need the casual player. The simplified game loop is basically this. New player starts in an Aurora or whatever starter ship they own, and through playing the game, doing activities they enjoy, they work their way up to better ships and increase their gameplay potential. Build bases and communities, and take ownership of the verse. A player-driven economy that relies on interdependency and community. But that progression curve has to be tuned. Credit costs, the crafting requirements, the time investments, all of that needs to feel earned but not punishing. And CIG can't tune that. The population they're collecting data from has years of legacy wealth distorting everything. Prior to the wipe, with money being completely meaningless, it was much easier just to ask for a handout in general chat and be a multi-millionaire with any ship you wanted within 5 minutes. Ask me how I know. Glad you asked. Well, I tested this on an alt account and it worked flawlessly. The data CIG gets from those players doesn't help them tune the new player experience, and it hurts everyone trying to do it legit. I'd argue that right now, post-wipe progression is still too quick. I had 1 million credits in the first day after release of 4.8 once I found a server that actually had the missions working. Missions that pay out up to 200k are an issue. Star Citizen really needs to be a trade economy with player crafting, and it's going to take us a long time to get there. I personally wouldn't mind seeing missions and other form of credit generation pay 100 times less than they currently do. In a resource economy, the products are the real value of the verse. The only things we really need to buy are fuel and repairs from NPCs. And it's not just credits. Crafting needed a wipe when it first came in, and the wear and decay mechanic that's coming will probably need another one. Big systems like that are cleaner to test when everything starts fresh, and when there are no legacy items that are outside that system. But there are uncomfortable aspects of this too. CIG just can't wipe every patch because their funding model depends on players staying engaged. People who log in every patch buy ships. If CIG wipes too often, the casual player can't keep up, they just stop playing entirely, and that leads to revenue loss. I think that's a real thing. 4.8 is a result of marketing setting dates that the game has to meet. Now, that only happens a few times a year, but it's important to call it out. So, the casual player who finally got their Cutlass or other ship that they've wanted forever through legitimate gameplay feels the wipes the hardest, and that's a real grievance. I'm not dismissing it. But the casual player is also the one who suffers the most when the economy's broken and the progression is tuned wrong. They're the ones who can't compete in the economy with duped credit holders, and they'd be the ones who hit a wall in the progression curve if CIG tuned it based on data from hoarders. They're the ones who show up at 1.0 expecting a working game, and maybe they'll find something else. You can't have that. Wipes hurt the casual player short term, and untested 1.0 hurts everybody worse for years. So there's real tension between what's good for the testing data, what's good for the players, and what's good for the business. They have to balance all of that. I get it. I'm not saying wipe every single patch and watch the player base evaporate. I'm saying that they've been too cautious about wipes for too long, and the data they need to ship 1.0 properly is being compromised by that caution. But obviously I know what you're thinking. If you're going to wipe my stuff every other patch, why would I even bother playing? What's the point of earning anything if it's gone within a few months? There's a solution that they've been testing that I never really got the importance of until now. The in-game event system. And I'll be honest, for years I dismissed the in-game events. Hell, I made a video back in January that said events suck because they waste your time. I know I don't always get it right, and this is an opinion channel and I'm always evolving what I think. I've treated Star Citizen as a game where I'm here to have fun in the moment. The events felt like a distraction from the gameplay that I cared about. Take the resource drive, for example. The rewards from the resource drive were incredible. If you added it up, there was over $300 of ship skins if you completed it for all corporations. So I figured, how bad could it be? And I was so excited about it and ended up hating it even after the cargo elevators were mostly working towards the end of it. Go haul 1,000 units of some resource to a station so bar fills up, and you do it because the reward at the end is so worth it. But the actual gameplay was miserable. It felt like a second job, but I wanted those rewards, so I kept doing it long after the fun had departed. In that vein, the only event that's clicked for me was the fight for Pyro, just playing it with the guys in my Discord. The event itself was pretty hard to complete with a lot of bugs and issues. We were attempting to do the missions, and along the way we made some serious memories, like falling out of a Polaris in a Great Cat MTC. We were doing all the missions together, fighting through the storyline, and earning account level rewards that I kept no matter how many times CIG wipes the verse. That's the key for people that need permanent progression. Those rewards live on. The stuff that I earned from messing around in Pyro is still mine, and it always will be. So I missed the point of the events. They provide permanent rewards for people that need that type of progression. But the best part of playing this game for me is the time spent with good people. The guys in voice chat losing their minds when something goes sideways, and also losing their minds when something actually goes well. That's the part I remember. That's the part no wipe can touch. Maybe that's what the no wipe crowd misses. They're grinding for a number that's going to 0 at 1.0 no matter what. Possessions in this game don't really matter, and they never have. Meanwhile, the actual game, the reason any of us are here, is the lived experience of the verse. And sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's not. Here's hoping that 4.9 is better. Listen, you come here for my opinion, so this is it. 1.0 is the only thing that matters. Period. Everything else is a stop along the way. If CIG needs to wipe us every patch or every other patch to make sure 1.0 ship's in good shape, I'd be fine with that. The progression I build up to 4.8 is going to mean nothing at 1.0 anyway. So is yours. Holding on to it harder doesn't change that. What changes is whether 1.0 is a game we actually want to play. And the only way CIG figures out how to build that game is by wiping us periodically and watching what happens with that fresh data. Listen, I know some of you don't agree, so drop your ideas in the comments. I'm wrong about plenty of things, but this one, I think the case is stronger than the wipe complaints make it look. I'll see you in the verse.